Have you ever wondered why it feels impossible to break free from the patterns that hold you back? You set goals, you feel motivated at first, but somehow, some way, you just slip right back into your old ways. What if I told you it's not because you're lazy or unmotivated, but because there are invisible forces operating beneath the surface, keeping you stuck? By the end of this video, you'll uncover 5 hidden barriers that are quietly sabotaging your growth, and more importantly, how to dismantle them for good. Stick with me because barrier number 5 is the one that most people never realize is holding them back, yet it's kind of the most insidious of them all. Hey everyone, it's Jay with Life Next Level, and if you're feeling tired of feeling like you're spinning your wheels and ready to finally take control of your growth, you're in the right place. Because at Life Next Level, we don't sugarcoat the truth about transformation. And today, we're going to dive headfirst into the first phase of change, what I like to call the transformational pillars. These are unseen blocks holding you back no matter how motivated or how disciplined you feel. Once you uncover them, it's like flipping the switch from stuck to unstoppable. Hey, it takes a little work, as does everything, but that's what growth is all about. So let's get into it. The first barrier that I want to talk about is the comfort zone trap. And if you've seen any of my videos, read any of my articles, you know I always talk about the comfort zone and getting into the growth zone. Here's the hard truth about the comfort zone. Your brain doesn't give a damn about your dreams. All it cares about is keeping you safe. And what feels safe? Doing what you've always done. No matter how miserable or unfulfilled it makes you. Why do you think those friends of yours, I know you know them because I've known some, that are in a terrible relationship, both people know it's terrible. Everyone on the outside knows it's terrible. Yet somehow they keep staying together, no matter how miserable they are, because it's comfortable. That's what we do in life, my friends. We do it all the time. But the problem really is that your comfort zone isn't comfortable at all. It's just familiar, and your brain loves that shit. Think of it this way. Every single time you try to break out of that comfort zone, your brain sees it as a threat. Even if it's something positive like starting a new career, going for career advancement, a new relationship, or a gym habit. That's why you feel and face resistance. But here's the key. The comfort zone isn't broken. It's just misaligned with the new life that you're trying to create. You've been going down these comfortable paths in your brain, creating these neural pathways of comfort for so long. Breaking out of them is like walking off of that well-worn path into the weeds. Nobody does that, or when they do, it's hard to do and they go right back to that comfortable path. That's what we do. So here's your actionable tip. Start small. Always start small. Don't try to bulldoze out of the comfort zone all at once. You will fail. I hate to say it like that, but people like the Kool-Aid man running through that wall, trying to break out of their comfort zone, it's going to probably fail. You got to start small because you're not used to it. Instead of being that Kool-Aid man, take one small step every day that feels slightly uncomfortable. Hit the gym for 15 minutes instead of committing to a 2-hour session. Or start with having one honest conversation when confrontation scares you. Over time, those small wins will widen your zone. You'll start to get more comfortable with being uncomfortable. And your brain will stop seeing them as big of a threat. And let me tell you something else. If you don't start today, if you start tomorrow, if you start in a week, you'll keep pushing it off because every single day that you stay comfortable, every single day that you think about change, you know you're kind of miserable, you think about change, and you go right to your comfort zone, your brain just gets more and more familiar with that path, and it's going to resist change more and more. So you got to start now if you want to make a change. Second barrier I want to talk about is the identity block. And this one's sneaky, really sneaky, because it works deep in your subconscious. Here's the deal. Your brain wants your actions to line up with how you see yourself. If your identity doesn't match your goals, you're always going to sabotage yourself to stay consistent with who you think you are. For example, maybe you're trying to adopt a fitness-focused lifestyle, but your internal narrative is still telling you that same old, I'm not athletic, or I can't do this because of childhood experience. And that mismatch, again, way deep in your subconscious, you don't even know that's what's happening, but that mismatch is why you fall off track, no matter how much willpower you apply. So your actionable tip today for that is to start by small steps, slowly rewiring your self-identity. Instead of saying, I want to lose 20 pounds, tell yourself, I'm becoming someone who prioritizes their health. It's like daily affirmations, right? And I know affirmations sound corny, y'all, but they work. There's a reason they work. You repeat that same affirmation day in and day out, and your brain starts to carve new neural pathways just thinking that way. So you start saying things like this, and it helps. It really does. You start to see yourself that way. It starts to change your identity slowly but surely. Instead of saying, I want to start my dream business tomorrow, say, I'm becoming an entrepreneur who adds value. Right? So anything that you're trying to do that you keep running into a brick wall and you don't know what it is, this could be an issue. Write it down and change the narrative and start that today. Very easy to do. Say it a few times a day and keep on going, and then start again building your dreams one small step at a time. Over time with these affirmations, your brain will actually start to protect the new identity you're imposing on it, which will propel you towards growth instead of pulling you back and away from growth and back into your comfort zone. So the third barrier, emotional avoidance patterns. And this one's huge too. I mean, these are all huge, don't get me wrong, but so many of us literally sabotage ourselves because we don't know how to deal with difficult emotions. Stress, anxiety, fear. Man, I run into this brick wall all the time. They all build up like steam in this pressure cooker, right? You have all this stuff going around and you're just getting more and more stressed as the days wears on. And then when there's no release valve, you fall back into habits like binge watching Netflix, procrastinating, overeating. These behaviors aren't bad per se, so don't punish yourself for falling into them. It's a very natural thing. They're literally coping mechanisms for unprocessed emotions that you have going on. But the problem is they're not bad, but they keep you stuck in place. They keep you in your comfort zone. So here's your actionable tip. Learn how to sit with your emotions instead of running from them. Running from them is so easy. Just learn how to sit with them for a little bit. A powerful way to start is just a 5-minute rule. When you're feeling triggered or overwhelmed, set a timer for 5 minutes. During those 5 minutes, do nothing but name what you're feeling without judgment. That last part is key. No judgment. We have to be less harsh on ourselves. Our inner critic, that inner voice that beats us down. I mean, we're ruder to ourselves than we would be our worst enemy, or even a friend. But why are we so hard on ourselves? It's just this internal wiring and mechanism. So without judgment is key. I mean, I feel anxious. I feel frustrated. I feel overwhelmed. Naming your emotions helps to loosen their grip on your behavior, and you can gain clarity about what's really going on. The fourth barrier is limiting belief system. These are the invisible forces that in your mind dictate what's possible for you. I should say like an invisible barrier, an invisible wall that dictate what's possible for you and what's not. Most of these beliefs, you've probably heard of limiting beliefs. It's huge, especially if anyone who becomes an entrepreneur or gets outside, starts something, is living this amazing life. They've had to bust through these barriers, man. Most of these beliefs, they were created during childhood or as a result of past failures, and they unconsciously create a boundary line for your life. I'm talking things that happened 10, 20, 30 years ago. Unconsciously, they're still creating that boundary line for your life. Like people who can't speak publicly or are really scared to do any sort of public speaking or get up in front of even a small crowd. They probably had a time in third grade where they got up and they stumbled on a line. They were really nervous and somebody in the class laughed at them. And they've held that with them for years and years and years. And again, going back to something we talked about earlier, the more you suppress it, the more you stay away from public speaking, the more difficult it becomes. The more worn that pathway in your brain of avoiding it becomes. So it gets harder and harder and harder. So anything that has been ingrained in your brain from 20 years ago is harder than it is something that happened 2 months ago. So it's why it's hard for us to step out of our growth zone sometimes. An example of this is if you believe deep down that success could mean losing your personal freedom because maybe it happened to your parents or it happened with the first business you created or tried to, you'll just avoid opportunities that could actually set you free in the long run. If you believe I'm not good enough, every time you get too close to a breakthrough, you'll find a way to hold yourself back and blow it right at the end. I was going to say a quote, but I can't remember who said it. But it was just basically about how many people out there were this close to building that life they wanted, this close to starting that business they wanted, and that's when they quit. They'd gone through so much and then they just quit. This is probably why. So here's your actionable tip for that. Quick exercise for you. Just rewrite your limiting beliefs. Take a piece of paper and write down the negative belief that you have that's floating in your head at any given time. I always have a notepad by me, so I always do this stuff. I think journaling and writing in particular is huge. There's an association with writing rather than typing for notes and stuff. It helps you remember. So I think things like this or gratitude journals are really important to write down. So you feel a negative belief, something happens, write down that negative belief on the left. Make it a 2-column sheet. Write down the negative belief on the left and then challenge it by asking, is this true? What evidence supports it? What evidence contradicts it? And write that stuff down on the right. And finally, and write this down too, replace it with an empowering belief. For example, change I always fail to every failure teaches me how to succeed. It's a stepping stone to success. Post these new beliefs somewhere that you will see them daily. Think of it. Maybe start with an affirmation sheet and put these right on the bottom of it. So the fifth barrier is one of the most powerful and insidious of them all. And most people, as I've talked about earlier, don't even know that it's controlling their life. But before I share it, here's a question. Have you ever felt like the harder that you try, the worse things seem to get? It's not a coincidence. It's the final hidden block that's working against you right now, and removing it might just be the most important thing you do. So let's dive in. And the fifth barrier is resistance to letting go. You won't believe how many people that I've talked to that are entrepreneurs, even successful, or that want to be entrepreneurs, or that feel stuck, that they don't even think about letting go. They've never even thought about it. That is to say, sometimes the thing keeping you stuck isn't what you need to do. It's what you refuse to release and let go. Whether it's an old habit, a toxic relationship or relationships, or even a version of yourself that no longer serves you. Holding on to that keeps you trapped. This can go back to the identity, your identity. This identity may be the identity that you have about yourself that you've been for the past 10 years. It's holding you back. So you have to change that. You have to take the steps to change that. But why is it so hard to let go? Because our brains cling to familiar. See, these are all connected. Comfort zone, familiarity. Your brain clings to familiar, even when it's hurting you. Letting go feels like danger, even though it could be the gateway to your freedom. So your actionable tip for letting go, create a simple habit of decluttering. Not just your physical environment, but your emotional and mental patterns as well. And as always, start small. Write down one thing you need to let go of. I know you know one, probably know 5 or 10, whether it's a habit, a thought, a relationship, a friendship. Then Write one action step to begin the process of release. For example, stop checking your phone after 9 p.m. or say no to one obligation you've outgrown, but you still do because it's familiar. Letting go is a skill, honestly, and it gets easier with practice. So there you have it. The 5 hidden barriers keeping you stuck: the comfort zone trap, the identity block, emotional avoidance patterns, limiting belief systems, and resistance to letting go. We talk about all these on this channel, by the way, and podcast. So, and in blog posts. But when we talk about all these, we go very in depth into every one of them, from being stuck to growing to living that life that you want. So subscribe to this channel if you get a chance, man. If you like this, if this helped you, share it. We're going to keep coming at you with very informational style videos, but really, really good information. So like I said, we don't sugarcoat this stuff. It can be hard. The transformation can be hard, but what you get at the end of it can be life altering. So anyway, remember, transformation does not happen overnight. That's with anything. If you're growing, if you're getting out of your comfort zone, it doesn't happen overnight. But with awareness and intentional action, you can begin to dismantle all these blocks that we talked about one by one. And hey, it starts to snowball. Everything seems really hard at first, but everything snowballs, right? Everything grows. It gets easier and easier. Attack one of these, and it's probably touching on 3 or 4 of them. And you're starting to make headway in each one of them, all these 5 barriers. So start small, be consistent. Before you know it, your growth could take off like never before. And if you're ready to take that next step on your awesome growth journey, again, make sure to subscribe to Life Next Level, because we're just getting started. I'm going to grow this channel like crazy. So leave a comment below. I'd love to hear from you. What barrier resonated with you the most? What are you going to attack first? What one's really keeping you down? And maybe we'll just talk about it more on the show. So appreciate you. And until next time, this is Jay signing off for Life Next Level. See ya.